sky is a beautiful blue, and I am walking the dog in my high vis. And today it's Friday, so I generally try and do something helpful. There's the sound of dogs everywhere, um, which worries me because I hope none come on the road and attack my dog, because that would not be a good end to a week. We had last week. I was in the middle of this video and a dog came bounding onto the road, and anyway, luckily nobody was watching. Today I'm going to talk to you about EAL appeals in a helpful way, but I probably will actually have to give out because it's also a bit of a lesson in user design if you're that way inclined. The Department of Education have a real habit of making online forms very, very difficult and laborious to fill in. I will say I think it's a good and a positive sign that the Department of Education are going paperless in their endeavours. I think it's a good idea for applications to be online, but they do have to be designed well. And the EAL appeals form, which is what most schools will be filling in if they have any children where English is not a first language, is additional language, is one such form that has to be filled in. Just for those of you who don't know anything about EAL appeals, schools, it's kind of funny because it's called an appeal, but you tend to appeal something that you've lost. The trouble is, every year when it comes to EAL, the actual application, it's not actually an appeal, it's an application, even though it's called an appeal, because you're basically given nothing, and every year you have to tell the Department of Education what your EAL needs are. This year there's very little change to the EAL appeal. The criteria seem to remain the same. The only difference is there are two forms. One with criteria A, which is the one that most people are used to, children at a certain level. They're only allowed to have EAL for 2 years, and so on. There's a couple of criteria. You can look them up. I have a cheat sheet on schoolpolicy.ie which you can look at, and it gives you all the information. Basically, anyway, when you do that, you basically have to fill in lots of information. So it's the usual information that you would have done on paper before: how many children are in your school, how many children you predict to be in your school in September, how many of those would have English as an additional language in each class, for less than 2 years. So generally your junior infants and your senior infants will be quite high numbers, and then maybe dotted from 1st to 6th class will be much smaller numbers, because you only get EAL for 2 years in this criteria A. And this is where the design goes wrong, because after that you have to type in the nationality, the language, the date the child enrolled, how many years the child has been in the system. I could be wrong on that one, and their PPS number. This is new this year, where you have to add their PPS number. You didn't have to do that last year. So this may be helpful to people before they fill in the EAL form. I would suggest that you go to you go to Aladdin and download the spreadsheet, download a report of all your children who are down for EAL, if you have a group like that. If not, you probably just have to create a group first of children who qualify for EAL, and you go to the report and you tick the criterias of the date they've enrolled, and their PPS number at least. And you also need to then once you get that spreadsheet downloaded, create a column for how many years they have had EAL as well. This is going to save you a little bit of time, because the next bit is fairly laborious. What you have to do is, for every single child, you have to type in their... There's no copying and pasting a spreadsheet, which would have been good. In this case, you have to fill in individual text box fields, which honestly will take you 10 times as long as it would have done had you been able to upload a spreadsheet, which would have been a much better idea. It might work very nicely for the people in the Department of Education because it's really difficult. As in, there's plenty of scope for mistakes, there's plenty of scope, and there's plenty of scope for a huge amount of time being spent. The spreadsheet that I described to you will somewhat save you a little bit of time from going back and forth to Aladdin looking for all that information in the first place. But I'd say the reality is you really probably we probably do need to maybe inform the Department of Education for next year that this online form is not good at all. Look, I hope that helps you out on a Friday. If you're a Friday paperwork person, like I am, that's when I do most of my paperwork of a week. Look, if it's helped you, or if you have any good tips that save you on your administration, it would be great to hear from you. I love designing little apps and websites that reduce administrative overload for both teachers and principals. If you haven't already, you can go to schoolpolicy.ie and sign up for lots and lots of tools that should help you reduce your workload, including a school calendar generator. I think at this time of the year, people are designing their school calendars, and that's a free and very useful tip, a very useful app that I know a lot of schools have signed up to, so I'm glad it's of use. Anyway, that is it for me. Friday, lovely sunny day. I hope you have a good weekend. Take care.